Welcome back, YouTubers. This is Inland Northwest Native News. I'm your host, Jeff Ferguson.
I'm your co-host, Margo Hill.
And thank you once again for joining us. If this is your first time here, we'd like to say thank you. Lem Lench, we'd like to invite you to join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 8:30. We're covering news and events for 11 tribes of the Inland Northwest and all the national, regional, and local news that affects you. Well, maybe not all of it, but we try to get the stuff that's important and as much as we can in 30 minutes, 3 times a week. So that being said, I know we have quite a few things that we want to cover, and kind of had a little rough start this morning. For some reason, we couldn't get our live stream up and going, so we apologize for that. But we do have some good content. We'd also like to invite you to come back for our some of the older content that we have on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to follow us, you can check out some of the old stuff and be notified if you click the like and subscribe button and then click the little bell that pops up. You'll also be notified whenever we have new content that comes out on our YouTube channel. So
yeah, we have interviews with artists, with tribal elders, speaking about, deep cultural context things. We've got sports folks. We've got all kinds of content. The powwows that we hit. I know we're all jonesing for a little bit of powwow, so we have that Arlie Iron Woman jingle dress competition. So lots of good content. Check those out.
Yeah, a real nice interview with Charlene Teeters. We went up to Untitled Pow Wow, got Tony Louie, some good footage of him singing. We one of the first episodes, we went down to White Swan. We went down there and covered the Cougar Den case. That was a while back, but that was pretty cool. Some of the legal issues facing Indian country here in the Inland Northwest. So lots of good content. Be sure to check that out, and be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. We'll leave links to all the stories that we cover in the comment section. We also monitor the live feed here. If you have any questions or something that you'd like to bring up as we're going along, go ahead and chime in. Feel free.
We better get rolling.
We better get rolling. First thing we got up. You want to do this one?
Sure. Right. Just announcing Powwow Stick Game Tournament at the Legends Casino. So save the date, August 20 through the 22nd in Toppenish, Washington. We're all jonesing for some stick game and powwow. So just first advertisement at the Toppenish Legends Casino and Powwow.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, I was wondering when that was going to happen. I know they haven't canceled everything this year, so there's hope. Mm-hmm. And I think it's still early enough. And we had, last time I checked, like 10 million people had been vaccinated. Or excuse me, no, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So I know we were shooting for 100 million in the first 100 days of the Biden administration. I'll have to check that. Check out how many, because I saw it was a really big number and it was a lot more than that. So anyhow, moving right along, we have some job announcements. We have the Spokane Tribe posted on their Spokane Tribal Enterprises page. Some of the jobs available are medical technologists at T Creek Research and Diagnostics. Two Rivers Marina is looking for a crew member down at the Two Rivers Resort. Chief Financial Officer for the Spokane Tribal Enterprises. Cashiers are needed at both the Spokos in Chihuahua and Airway Heights. We also are looking for Arby's crew members out in Airway. The cashier and deli clerk position at the Spoko Fuel at Two Rivers is open, and a deli clerk cashier at the Whelpana Trading Post. So those are some of the job announcements for the Spokane Tribe. If you, at your tribe, whether it's Coeur d'Alene or Colville or Blackfeet or wherever you're at, if you have any job announcements you'd like us to cover, be sure to let us know about that. I also know that the Spokane Tribe Casino is looking for a few people, and I know that the Healing Lodge, they have a job announcement that's up. And so let's go right into that, the Healing Lodge of First Nations.
So the Healing Lodge did some unique things.
7 Nations.
Of the 7 Nations, did some unique things to honor Indigenous women. It's Women's History Month, and so they took some steps. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to talk about that a little bit, but we got a shout out from Idella sharing a few of these things with us, so that we thought that was pretty cool.
Sure. Well, let's get this job announcement for them out of the way first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here is here's a list of the current job openings as well as job announcements. We appreciate if you would help get the word out and share these openings with those you feel may be interested. HR coordinator, wages $20 to $24 an hour. This has been updated to a full-time position. So that's the Healing Lodge. They also have Idella shouting out and sending some photos. These are kind of cool photos. We'll come back to those, but they are telling us a little bit about what they're doing out there to celebrate the National Women's History Month. And I thought that was kind of cool that they're doing that out there.
Yeah, so they're identifying strong Indian women, telling about the Indian women who are leading our country. We have Deborah Holland, of course, U.S. Congress, as well as Sharice Davis from the, is she Winnebago, Ho-Chunk? I'm spacing a little bit, but they also have Chairwoman Carol Evans, and of course Ruth Bader Ginsburg. These are all women that are leading the way in their fields, and so thanks Idella for sharing that. Looking at She Rose, we believed in the hard work that's happening across our communities by these women. Ballerinas, Maria Tall Chief, indigenous women and women of color that are singers and, just artists and all these amazing things that they do. So the Healing Lodge are working with our young people, helping to inspire them to make good choices. And here they're showing some female role models from our own community and across the nation. So that is just so inspiring to see and very powerful. So Idella, thanks for sending those photos in. Thanks for sharing. We got them on the air, and we're sharing that amazing story. Yeah.
Yeah. So up next, we have a story that was really of concern to us. We read this. Warmer weather brings orcas back to Lake Coeur d'Alene. Polar bears leave area in search of snow. So the warmer weather bringing orcas back to Lake Coeur d'Alene was of real concern to us, being how there's never been orcas in Lake Coeur d'Alene. I just thought it was kind of fun to share. People out there with their
goofy.
Yeah, goofy stuff. We just kind of thought that was, something a little bit. Well, I thought it was funny. So
on the lighter side.
On the lighter side, thought I'd share it. We come across goofy stuff all the time, and I just thought that was kind of a fun one. So moving right along, we have a love letter to the warrior women. This is something. This is a film screening. The End of the Line, the Women of Standing Rock, and this is a film screening. Join Standing Rock whistleblower I think it's Waste Win Young is how they pronounce the name. I'm not really sure. For End of the Line, the Women of Standing Rock, it's a free screening. This was actually on March 9th. But if you go there and check it out, they're going to leave a link that you can still go check it out and see. It was pretty neat. Content from the front lines from a women's perspective at Standing Rock.
So the film takes you inside the resistance. As construction workers edge closer to their land, we see leaders from Standing Rock and surrounding Native American communities that come together and set up camp in a peaceful protest. From the encampment, we witness growing militarization of their opponents and the lack of consideration they receive from the government for their most basic rights.
So one of the key people in this film was, is it Waste Win? I think that's how you pronounce it. Waste Win Yellow Lodge Young. And she's a Dakota, Hunkpapa Lakota, enrolled citizen of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And she grew up along the Missouri River, north of Fort Yates in North Dakota. She graduated from University of University of North Dakota in 2001 and worked for the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's Historical Preservation Office from 2003 to 2015, including 7 years as a tribal historic preservation officer. So she'll have a lot of information about the history of the land and the people from that area. This covers in August 2016, when she moved her family to the Oceti camp, the epicenter of the indigenous-led resistance to the Dakota Access Pipeline at Standing Rock. They resided there until February 22nd of 2017, when a law enforcement and military forcibly removed the water protectors. On February 1st, she was one of 72 people arrested at Crazy Horse's last child's camp at Oceti for peacefully maintaining a physical and spiritual presence on Lakota treaty land. After nearly 2 years of court proceedings, all charges against her were dropped in December of 2018. in her second year of law school at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, where she lives with her 4 children. Together with her, she's now at the University of New Mexico. Together with her mother, American Indian rights activist Phyllis Young, she stars in the forthcoming feature documentary, End of the Line, The Women of Standing Rock. We're going to keep an eye out for that. Shannon Kring is an Emmy-winning producer and humanitarian whose work has been produced by dozens of governments and by institutions including the UN Permanent Forum of Indigenous Issues, the Smithsonian Institute Museum of American Indians, NASA, MIT, and the British Museum. She works with the UN, the U.S. Department of State, and other global bodies concerning the indigenous and other marginalized members of society, environmental sustainability, and cultural preservation. She's involved in this project, and so this is something that there was a lot of research, a lot of background, a lot of due diligence done, and we'll definitely keep an eye on this and when it's going to be screened and where it's going to be screened, because we really want to be able to see this. They had that one and we couldn't get it in before the last show, but anyhow, we thought it was really important to mention.
Yeah.
So
our next story is celebrating Washington's environmental leader, Billy Frank Jr. If any of you have been tracking this, Billy Frank Jr., of course, was a leader and an inspiration here in Washington State, but also throughout the nation. So we have a video that we want to show. Should I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay.
A lot of words come to mind when I think of uncle.
Yeah, I can think of a word that describes Billy. Inspirational.
Heritage of culture. Tradition of continuity.
One of the words that come to my mind is accountability.
A word to describe this man. Billy. That's how you describe him.
He was an activist. He was a treaty rights advocate. For a young person like myself, a young Indigenous man, it was inspiring. Billy led the way.
Everybody who works on environmental issues today knows about Billy Frank Jr. He was an environmental hero.
I was very fortunate to have such a good role model in both my mother and father, who talked about leadership, who talked about coming together and working together, and also spoke about protecting this environment, protecting this beautiful river that we have, protecting everything that Mother Nature has given us.
So growing up on the Nisqually Reservation and growing up in this community of the Squaliups people of the river, that meaning alone has a lot of energy and just tradition behind it. Habitat, restoration, conservation, those are words coming from our people and what we've done over the thousands of years here.
Every time I come out here to the Billy Frank Refuge, I always think back to my first job, bucking hay for one of the local farmers. Back then, the landscape here was a lot different. It was a field of hay. Since that time, the tribe has done a lot to remove dikes and bring this land back to its natural state.
Growing up, that was always a life lesson my father tried to get instilled into me, was you protect this environment at all costs. Whatever you do, you make sure that you protect this water behind us, you protect our salmon so we're still able to exercise our treaty rights and we're still able to celebrate our culture and our way of life. The salmon need clean, fresh water, and that really is a way to tell how we're doing in life right now and how the environment and the ecosystem's working. When the rivers are clean, when the salmon are coming home, we know that we are healthier as human beings.
His real intent was about trying to get Indian people to the table to help decide precise policy that supported Indigenous communities, that supported Greater Washington, that protected salmon restoration.
I was on the phone right before we came down here speaking with Fran Wilsusan, one of our staffers at NWIFC, and she mentioned how my dad used to go over to ecology. He'd go over there and talk to him about co-management and talk about the importance of protecting the water, the importance of protecting the environment.
He was known to be a great partner to the Department of Ecology, to other state agencies, and when you think about it, it really demonstrates such a strength of character. We have to be honest, government did not treat Billy Frank Jr.'s people well, yet Billy Frank Jr. was still willing to come to the table with government and forge solutions, and those partnerships and what he taught us about partnerships continue to this day.
And that's really, you know, when it comes down to it, the tribes, the state departments, they're not going to be able to do it on their own. It has to be all of us here in the state of Washington coming together for the resource.
He was really the activist that helped bring us together, which is why I think we celebrate Billy Frank Jr. today.
All right, so that was a video that was done by the Washington Department of Ecology in honor of Billy Frank Jr. I thought that was really well done, and I thought it was really neat that they did that. We'll leave the link to the YouTube so you can share that with your friends and family. You know, Billy Frank Jr. was such a significant activist in Washington state history, and now he's getting the recognition that he's long deserved. I thought that one of the coolest places in the state, if you get a chance, is over off the, I don't even actually know if it's on Nisqually land, but it's right next to the Nisqually Res. It's the Billy Frank Jr. Wildlife Refuge that they talked about in that video, and they restored it. It is beautiful. If you get a chance to go out there and walk around, man, make sure you are aware, because there's critters everywhere. They did a really good job bringing it back to the way it used to be. It's beautiful. Just one of my favorite places in the state.
Yeah, you know, Jeff, when I was at University of Washington, we brought in Billy Frank Jr., and he spoke to our fish sciences class. I don't know if it's ichthyology or what the class, but we were in Kane Hall, and we were packed in there, and Billy Frank talked to us about ecosystems in the environment. He also talked about having tea with the queen.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a guy that got around, but he was fighting for the environment. You know, not just a little frat boy coming late to the scene. He has fought for tribal sovereignty and fishing rights for tribal communities, and of course protecting and restoring the environment. So yeah, and if you get back to Washington D.C. and if you're ever in Statutory Hall, they're talking about putting a statue of Billy Frank in there at the Capitol. You know, typically it's filled with Suyapis that are colonists and, you know, white-haired men that, you know, colonized the United States. So it'll be very cool to have one of our own local tribal warriors standing in the Statutory Hall of yeah.
Really a legend. You know, he was at the forefront of the fish wars. It was really cool to see. This next story really directly relates to that. We have had a House Republican Leader J.T. Wilcox on House Bill 1372, which is designed to take and replace one of the statues of Whitman, one of the guys that came to this area that actually Whitman County in Washington State is named after. They're trying to get a statue of Billy Frank Jr. in there to replace that statue. And so, this is kind of unusual that J.T. Cox, he's a Republican, he reached across the aisle and he went out and he made comments at on the floor in support of replacing the statue with Billy Frank Jr. And to have them post this actually came off the Washington State House Republicans YouTube channel. So if you get a chance, you can check those out. He has a lot of great things to say about Billy Frank Jr. and how important a figure he was in Washington State history. And I thought that was really neat that they did that. You know, there are still people that reach across the aisle, and to see that to him push for this and advocate for Billy Frank Jr. was really inspiring. I was happy to see that. So
yeah, we don't have time to play it, but we'll put the link in the notes below.
Right. So moving right along, we have IHS continues to make progress towards our goal of administering 1 million COVID vaccines by March 31st, with more than 655,000 so far. Follow our progress at covid.cdc.gov/covid-data-tra and help us protect your community by getting the vaccine. So I thought this was really interesting. It goes on to talk about what Biden had to say about the vaccines in Indian country and how well oiled the Indian country vaccine machines are. You know, Spokane Res, I know, is pumping them out. And I read an article, I wish I could have grabbed it. It was about the Cherokee Nation opening up to non-natives. So they got a lot of vaccines down there, and they opened it up to non-natives too.
Oh yeah, right here in Spokane, I know Native Health was vaccinating some of the teachers from the reservation because, you know, our communities are the hardest hit. So shout out to all those healthcare workers across the nation that are working hard to provide these vaccines.
Yeah, so this part about Biden, it says President Biden at POTUS, United States government official, Native American communities have been hit hard by COVID-19, but thanks to the Indian Health Service and strong partnership with tribal governments, organizations, and urban Indian groups, more than 500,000 vaccines have already been administered, with more on the way. And that one actually came up on the POTUS Twitter account. So thank you, POTUS, for posting that. You know, it's nice to get some numbers coming out there.
And if, Jeff, if this COVID relief packages comes through the way it's designed, this will be the first time in history that Indian Health Service has nearly the funding that it needs, along with our urban Indian health that serve a lot of our populations that are in the cities due to relocation and termination. And so this COVID relief package are really going to get some of our healthcare systems funded to levels where they need to be.
Yeah, I think that when we look at the amount of money, it was like $89 billion, which is like 30 times what the Colville settlement was. And if you can imagine that amount of money, this influx of cashola, if you will, into Indian country, the programs and the infrastructure and all of these different things, rather than just divvying up individually, it could make a very substantial impact that would last for generations. That would be pretty cool.
Well, Jeff, you know that tribes ceded their territories, and the two things that we were guaranteed and promised in our treaties when we ceded millions of acres of land was healthcare and education. And, you know, we have been underfunded in our Indian Health Service for many years. A lot of our tribes on our priority one. That means you don't get referred to contract health or special needs until you're practically dying. You have to be life-threatening positions to get contract help. So hopefully this will fund us at a level we need. And of course we don't get education either. I have student loans that I'm still paying on. So those are really, we prepaid for our health care when we ceded our territories, but that has not been adequately funded. And that's why we have the highest rates of, preventable diseases and, lower life expectancy rate and all those determinants of health.
I remember reading a while back, and I don't know how accurate these numbers are now, but there were two numbers that I thought were rather shocking. One was that the average life expectancy of a Native American male on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation was 47 years old.
State championships now.
On another reservation, there was an average life expectancy of 57 years old. And when you don't even qualify for your retirement and your health care until you're 67 now, wow, that's a long time to wait. And it's in Indian country, it's too late. And so now we have the opportunity to address those issues and, start with some preventive medicine and preventive measures and education, all these different things that this money can do. So that's kind of a really cool thing that we can look forward to, and hopefully keep our fingers crossed. I know there are people that support the bill, people that don't support it. They think that there's too much free money going out. That's a lot of free money. I know it's, in our area, we're fortunate. There's a lot of jobs here. It's not that way. It's kind of a blanket thing that they're trying to throw at this problem that was created in our financial institutions and our economy. I know there are things that people still debate about on that, but at very least, I'd like to see all this stuff go through for Indian country, regardless of how they pan out everything else, because we need it, and we've needed it for so long. Unfortunately, it took a pandemic to bring all this stuff to the table. So anyhow, moving right along, we have a story about these. This is just a follow-up story, which I thought was pretty cool. This is the Lapwai, where we're talking about the Lapwai boys Zachary Eastman. And Zachary Eastman was the coach for the 11th time champion. They won 11 times. And so this is an interview that they did at the Lewiston Tribune that we want to share with you. So go ahead and roll that one.
What's the feeling to add this one to the trophy case, you know?
I mean, everyone has special moments. Everyone has different things that happen in the game. But this one was my first to be a part of. So just hearing about the history, being a part of it, seeing it, hearing it from my close friends, their families, you know, there's a lot of state champions in Lapwai. So, you know, now it's good to be part of the club.
What year is this for you now?
This is my second year coaching.
Second year, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
And just 11 state titles. What is it about this program? I know you've been here a couple of years, but what is it about this program?
Well, I mean, if you look at the roster, you look at their last names, there's a lot of lineage all the way back then. Your Euros, the Sabotas, all those names. Girls team, all Sabotas. You know, they have a lot of lineage here, a lot of family ties. And you know, when you watch people win state championship as a kid, you see that, and it sticks with you. And you know, that's what little kids in Lapwai, you know, they look up to Kyrie Irving, they look up to people, but also they look up to my boys. They look up to them. They say, one day I want to be on that court. I want to be shouted out by Kyrie Irving.
When you mentioned Kyrie, you guys made kind of some national news with that. How cool has that been to have like an NBA superstar of his caliber kind of reach out?
It just really shows the kind of person he is. That's what I really like to tell the boys. I mean, like, he has his own games, his own stuff going on in his own life, and he has the time and the day to let our boys know, and that just shows his character. And I let them know, like that's what you guys should be doing, you know? You guys should be reaching out to little kids. You guys should be reaching out to people, because basketball is more than just a game. It's a way to bring people together. It's a way to learn from each other. It just gives a lot of life experiences.
I guess we are done buffering. All right, so that was out of Lewiston. And so I think the last time we reported on these guys, that we reported that they won their 11th straight state title. And that actually, I think, is incorrect. I'll have to double check these, because this one says they won their 11th state title. And so I don't think it was 11 in a row. I think it was their total 11, because 11 in a row, that's kind of unbelievable. I don't know if but I just do it. We'll have to check that out. But anyhow, those guys got out there and they gave it their all, and it paid off, and they got a good interview. We'd like to thank the guys at the Lewiston Tribune for doing that interview. Shout outs from NBA players, man. You know, NBAs have been supporting natives in basketball for a long time. You know, I know Gary Payton came out, Supersonics, when I was over with the Quileute tribe over on the coast there, and so did Sean Kemp. He came out. That was kind of neat to see those guys. But anyhow, we thought we would share that with you. That was kind of a neat inspirational piece. He talks a little bit about how in Indian country it is more than just a game. It brings people together, and it's a way of life for a lot of them. So anyhow, I think we're just about out of time. We do have one more quick story that we want to do, and this is for the 8th generation. So they put out this blanket called Defend in collaboration with Indian collectives and esteemed artist Votan Henriquez, who's Maya and Nahuay. The blanket pays homage to the power of women, as well as the collective voice that united all Indigenous people during the Standing Rock Pipeline protests. The bullhorn is symbolic of the amplification of Native voices, and the winter count designed in the blanket represents the connection of Native people to their traditions. When you wrap yourself in this blanket, Votan hopes you will feel empowered. Indigenous movements have risen up for centuries, defending our lands and rights, Votan says. It is now our moment in time to honor those who gave up so much so we could be here. It is our time to show up for those to come. This came off of the Instagram page for 8th Generation. We're celebrating International Women's Day with the launch of a new blanket, was the title of it. We are definitely going to share the link to that in the comment section below. And for those of you that don't know, 8th Generation was founded by Louis Gong, who is a tribal member from the Klickitat?
No. West Side, no.
He's a West Side. not Tlingit, not Klickitat. It'll come to me up north. Anyhow.
Suquamish Lummi.
No.
Start
Up north by Canada, in the corner there. It's going to come to me. But anyhow, Louis Gong is on board. They sold to the organization sold to Snoqualmie tribe. So Snoqualmie tribe now owns 8th generation. They're producing the blankets. Louis Gong's still on as a consultant, I believe. So anyhow, great product, great blanket. If you want one, you better get on it because I think they're going to sell out of this one.
Indigenous, by natives, for natives, right? We're making our own designs and honoring our own people. And somebody's birthday is coming up in a couple months, and that honoring women blanket's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah? Whose birthday might that be? My birthday's not till November.
Yeah, my birthday's coming up here in a couple months. So.
Well, you don't ask much, do you?
Nope.
All right, so I think that's about it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to check us out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 8:33 sometimes. But yeah, be sure to like and subscribe.
So thank you. Send us any story ideas. We'll get them on the air. Like and subscribe.